So now I'm going to take you to the prophecy in Genesis 3:15 of Jesus, and this is the earliest prophecy that we can see of Jesus. Although, I think there's even earlier ones, but this is the earliest one, which most people can really clearly recognize this is talking about Jesus. And, we have a lot of people out there. We have Muslims and Jews that want to tell us that Jesus is nowhere in the Old Testament. Jesus is nowhere in the Torah, but yet he is all throughout the Old Testament, even all the way back to Genesis. We see Jesus many times in Genesis, and I've actually won Jewish people, one particular Jewish man, by showing him the prophecies of Jesus in Genesis. I showed him where Noah's Ark, if you don't get into the Ark, you're not saved, and that's a prophecy of, the coming Messiah. And then I showed him that Abraham sacrificed Isaac on the mount, and that was a picture of Jesus being sacrificed for our sins. And this man broke, and he prayed, and he accepted Jesus and was saved. So, the prophecies are big when it comes to people getting saved and witnessing to people. The prophecies are a major part of that, because without the prophecies, you really got nothing. All you're doing is showing them, hey, I got a book, just like every other religion's got a book, without being able to show them why your book is true, why your book is special, and why your book is believable. You really got nothing. But I was lucky enough that when I was a young child, my grandfather taught me the prophecies of Jesus, bouncing me on his knee. He would talk to me about the book of Daniel, Revelation, Jesus coming back, all that stuff. Although once I became a teenager, got into my late teens, I really stopped believing the Bible. And I remember coming to a point just crying like, this Bible isn't true. It's all just been a lie, and believe in evolution, thinking that the science, said it was true, so therefore it's true. But yet even scientists say evolution is just a theory, and it's just an idea. It's a theory, we know by Charles Darwin, and it's a false theory. And even he recanted it on his deathbed. Even Charles Darwin didn't know many of the things that we know today about how complex the human body is and stuff. I mean, back then they used to think if you threw a pile of rags into a corner, it would evolve into rats. They just didn't understand today the way that we understand how complex everything is. And obviously it has to have a designer. It's just ridiculous to say that there's no designer, but yet we have this super complex design. That's like saying I have a painting, but there's no painter, just doesn't make any sense. And it's ridiculous that they're teaching that to children. They should at least, if you're going to teach them your theory of evolution, also teach them the theory of there being a God. Because really, in essence, they're teaching them a religion in school. They're telling them there is no God. They're teaching them atheism. And if they're going to do that, then they should also say, well, there's a theory that there is a God, and it should go both ways. But kids being young and impressionable, as I was, will buy what they're taught, hook, line, and sinker, and they'll just believe it. And, and there's a lot of bad consequences from that. Teenagers who don't believe in God, they really have no hope. And it's the worst time for them to be taught that there is no God, because teenagers are going through such emotional changes and drama, and they're having relationships they've never had before. They don't know how to deal with life. They're using drugs and alcohol. So for them to be suddenly taught, there's no God, they're way more likely to commit suicide. And that's exactly what happened with, me and my school, that we had 6 suicides by the time I graduated, and they hit me very hard. But what they did was bring me back to Jesus and made me search for the truth and made me want to know, is there a God? Is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Where do my friends go? I know they're dead, but where do they go? And it brought me right back to the Bible. And I ended up searching out, the truth. I had a Christian friend that kept witnessing to me about creation and saying, don't you see there's a designer? There has to be a design. There has to be a God. And the only logical God is the God of the Bible. Why? Because the prophecies the Bible said are true. There's so much evidence for the Bible. So it ended up bringing me back to the truth of the Bible. And after really looking at the Bible with a scrutinizing eye, I became a believer and truly accepted Jesus. So anyways, this is the prophecy. I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Now, his heel is obviously speaking of Jesus, and the seed of the woman is obviously Jesus here. And Jesus is bruising the serpent's head, in that he's defeating Satan on the cross. The cross is just a bruise to Jesus's heel, but what Jesus was doing was destroying the devil, destroying death when he died on the cross for our sins.